What if I told you that hidden societies, powerful and ancient, still cast their shadows across our world today? That behind closed doors, rituals are performed, oaths are whispered, and alliances forged, all in complete secrecy. But why, and to what end? These are the societies we're told not to question, the ones shrouded in myths, conspiracies, and whispers of influence. But tonight we're pulling back the veil, exposing the names you've heard of, and maybe some you haven't. In this video we'll uncover the dark history of the Freemasons, the mysterious Illuminati, the infamous Ku Klux Klan, Yale's secretive Skull and Bones, the esoteric Rosicrucians, and the legendary Order of Assassins. Some of these groups have hidden their secrets for centuries, secrets they'd rather keep buried. But are they really as powerful as we think? Or have the myths grown larger than the reality? What you're about to hear may change the way you see history, and the forces that shape our world. Let's begin. The Freemasons. The name alone conjures images of shadowy rooms, ancient rituals, and secrets hidden behind locked doors. But who are they, really? Are they the architects of society as we know it, or simply a fraternity bound by symbols and traditions? The roots of Freemasonry stretch back to the skilled stoneworkers of medieval England. These builders, known as Freemasons, crafted the cathedrals and castles of Europe, and they formed small, tight-knit groups called lodges to exchange skills and protect their craft. These lodges became places not only for work, but for sharing wisdom, and slowly they began welcoming thinkers, philosophers, and nobles who were drawn to their ideas. In 1717, 4 of these lodges united to create what's now known as the First Grand Lodge in London. This marked the birth of modern Freemasonry, and soon, Masonic lodges began to spread across Europe and the New World. And who joined their ranks? Only some of the most influential minds in history, thinkers like Voltaire, revolutionaries like George Washington, and composers like Mozart. By the Age of Enlightenment, Freemasonry had become the secret meeting ground for intellectuals and reformers. With this new and powerful network came speculation. Some claimed that the Freemasons were more than just a fraternity, that they held hidden influence over governments, or even orchestrated revolutions. In fact, rumors circulated that the ideals of the American and French revolutions, liberty, equality, fraternity, were inspired by the values discussed within Masonic lodges. And it's true that many revolutionaries were Masons, but how much of this influence was intentional, and how much was myth? Inside these Masonic lodges, members gather in dimly lit rooms. Symbols like the compass and square are etched onto altars and walls, and an all-seeing eye gazes down upon the members from above, known as the Eye of Providence. For Masons, these symbols represent their deepest beliefs, morality, knowledge, and an architect behind the universe. They call this architect the Great Architect of the Universe. But to outsiders, these symbols look like the markings of a cult, or something even darker. Throughout history, these secretive meetings and symbols sparked suspicion. In 1738, Pope Clement XII officially condemned the Freemasons, issuing a papal bull that branded them a dangerous cult. To the Church, the Masons' secrecy and influence posed a direct threat. This ban remained in effect for nearly 250 years, and it wasn't only the Church that feared them. Totalitarian regimes also saw the Freemasons as enemies. In Nazi Germany, Freemasons were targeted and persecuted. In the Soviet Union, the organization was seen as a bourgeois threat to the state. But despite these efforts to silence them, Freemasonry endured, adapting to each era. Today, Freemasonry exists in many forms, and while it's no longer as secretive, its rituals and symbols still remain behind closed doors. Members continue to move through ranks, from apprentice to fellowcraft to master mason, and only those within their ranks fully understand the deeper meanings behind these symbols. Some say that at its core, Freemasonry is simply a brotherhood dedicated to philosophy, charity, and self-improvement. Others argue that it's a powerful network of influence with hidden ties to politics, finance, and global affairs. The truth, as always, might lie somewhere in between. So do the Freemasons truly pull the strings from behind the scenes, shaping our history in subtle ways? Or are they, as they claim, simply a group of individuals bound by shared ideals and a love of tradition? Perhaps the real truth lies buried within their ancient symbols, guarded by those who still believe in the power of secrecy. The Illuminati. Few names spark more fear, fascination, and mystery. Some say they're the hidden power behind governments, a group that shapes history from the shadows. But could it be true? Their story begins in 1776 in Bavaria. Adam Weishaupt, a young law professor frustrated by the church and monarchy's control, founded the Illuminati as a secret group of thinkers, scientists, and revolutionaries. His goal? To spread Enlightenment ideals of liberty and reason in a world ruled by religious and political elites. At first, the Illuminati were small, but they quickly grew, recruiting influential people, scientists, writers, politicians. At their peak, the Illuminati had around 1,500 members, structured in layers or grades to protect their secrets. They spread their ideas by infiltrating other groups like Masonic lodges, weaving a powerful network of influence. But this secrecy drew suspicion. In 1785, the ruler of Bavaria, Prince Karl Theodor, declared them illegal, calling them dangerous conspirators. Their secret documents were seized, revealing symbols, rituals, even detailed plans to challenge the status quo. Many members abandoned the group, and the Illuminati seemed to vanish overnight. Or did they? Despite their supposed end, stories about the Illuminati didn't die. Some say they survived underground, continuing their mission to control society. Others claim they fled to America, finding influence in the newly formed government. Even today, people say the Illuminati's symbols, the pyramid, the all-seeing eye, can be found on the US dollar bill hidden in plain sight, and their reputation only grew. From the French Revolution to the assassination of John F. Kennedy, every major event seems to have its own Illuminati theory. In modern times, they've become legends, appearing in films, music, and books as the ultimate puppet masters of society. But what do we actually know? Historians generally agree that the Bavarian Illuminati existed but believe their power was likely exaggerated. Still, if they truly disappeared, why do we keep seeing their symbols? Why does their legend persist? And why are so many convinced that they're out there shaping our world? So what do you think? Are the Illuminati real or just a story we tell ourselves to explain the unexplainable? Let us know in the comments below. The Ku Klux Klan. The very name brings to mind images of burning crosses, white hoods, and a chilling history of hatred. But where did it all begin? And how did this group become one of the darkest secret societies in American history? The story of the Ku Klux Klan begins on Christmas Eve in 1865. 6 Confederate veterans, disillusioned and angry after the South's defeat in the Civil War, gathered in Tennessee. They wanted to resist the new laws that granted freedom and rights to Black Americans. They called their group the Ku Klux Klan, from the Greek word kuklos, meaning circle, symbolizing their unity. At first, the Klan may have seemed like an odd social club with strange titles like Grand Wizard and Nighthawks. But this was no ordinary group. As their numbers grew, so did their purpose. Members wore ghostly white robes and hoods, appearing out of the darkness like specters of fear, their faces hidden, their identities masked. The very sight of them struck terror into anyone who crossed their path. By the late 1860s, the Klan's influence had spread across the South. Behind their masks, they used threats, beatings, and even murders to silence Black Americans and those who supported equality. It became so widespread that in 1871, President Ulysses S. Grant signed the Ku Klux Klan Act, making it a federal crime to conspire against civil rights. Under this new law, the Klan was broken up, and many of its leaders were jailed. But was this really the end? Or was the Klan simply waiting for the right moment to rise again? In 1915, the Klan returned, fueled by a new wave of fear and hatred. This time, they expanded their targets to include immigrants, Catholics, Jews, and anyone who didn't fit their narrow vision of a pure America. They paraded through cities, held public cross burnings, and recruited millions from small towns to government offices. By the 1920s, the Klan claimed millions of members, with influence reaching into the highest levels of power, including senators, police chiefs, and judges. In some towns, almost everyone in law enforcement was a member. If the Klan targeted you, there was nowhere to turn for help. But as quickly as they grew, scandals and violence from within the group turned the public against them. By the late 1920s, the Klan was once again fading into the shadows. Today, the Klan still exists, though it's only a shadow of its former self. Their numbers have dwindled, and they now operate in isolated, fragmented groups, but the legacy of their terror and the darkness they brought to American history have left a lasting scar. The Ku Klux Klan may have lost its power, but their story remains a warning, a reminder of how easily hate can spread when it hides behind masks and secrecy. So, what do you think? Could something like this happen again? Or has society changed too much for such a group to gain power today? Let us know in the comments below. Skull and bones. The very name sounds like something out of a horror novel, a group so secret that even its own members are forbidden to speak about it. But Skull and Bones is real, and its members include some of the most powerful people in American history. The story of Skull and Bones begins at Yale University in 1832. The founder, William Huntington Russell, had just returned from Germany, where secret societies were common. Inspired, he created Skull and Bones as an exclusive society for Yale's elite students. But this was no ordinary fraternity. From the very beginning, it was built on secrecy and rituals. Each year, just 15 Yale seniors are tapped to join Skull and Bones. These are the most promising students, the smartest, the most athletic, the future leaders of America. Once chosen, they're initiated through a series of mysterious rituals, including one that supposedly involves lying in a coffin in a cold, dark room, forced to confess their deepest secrets, binding them to the group in a ritual of vulnerability and power. The Bonesmen, as they call themselves, gather in a windowless building on Yale's campus, known only as the Tomb. This fortress-like structure is said to hold the society's darkest secrets. No one outside knows what happens inside. Rumors speak of strange ceremonies, stolen relics, and secret oaths. Legend even claims that some Bonesmen stole the skull of the Apache leader Geronimo, keeping it as a prized relic within the tomb. True or not, it adds to the aura of power and privilege that surrounds the society. But Skull and Bones isn't just a college society. Over the years, its members have become some of the most powerful figures in the United States. Among them are former presidents, senators, Supreme Court justices, and influential business leaders. The Bush family alone counts 3 generations of Bonesmen, including President George H.W. Bush and President George W. Bush. So, what is the purpose of Skull and Bones? Is it simply a network of powerful alumni helping each other out? Or is there something darker, a hidden agenda that shapes American politics from behind the scenes? For decades, rumors have circulated that Skull and Bones has an agenda to establish a new world order. Some believe they have links to the CIA and that they've used their influence to guide U.S. foreign policy. Others claim they've infiltrated the world of finance and media, using their wealth and power to pull the strings of society. With their hidden rituals and powerful network, Skull and Bones remains an enigma. But perhaps the most unsettling question is, why is it so closely guarded even today? Skull and Bones may operate in the shadows, but its impact is felt in the public sphere. Its members hold the levers of power in some of the highest offices. And while we may never know what goes on behind the closed doors of the tomb, the mystery surrounding Skull and Bones continues to captivate and unsettle those on the outside. So, does Skull and Bones have a hidden influence on American power? Or is it just another elite club with a strange history and powerful connections? Maybe the truth will always remain sealed within the tomb. The Rosicrucians. A society as mystical as it is ancient. Shrouded in symbols of alchemy, magic, and secret knowledge, the Rosicrucians have been a source of fascination and fear for centuries. But who are they really? And what secrets do they claim to possess? The origins of the Rosicrucians date back to the early 1600s, with the publication of 3 mysterious manifestos. These texts spoke of a secret brotherhood, dedicated to spreading hidden wisdom and transforming society through enlightenment. The manifestos hinted at the teachings of a legendary founder, Christian Rosenkreuz, a mysterious figure who, according to legend, had traveled through the Middle East and learned ancient secrets from wise men before founding the order in Europe. But what kind of knowledge did they seek? According to the manifestos, the Rosicrucians studied alchemy, not the kind that turns lead into gold, but a more spiritual form of alchemy. They believed in the transformation of the soul, a journey toward enlightenment and wisdom. They claimed that only those pure of heart could unlock these secrets. These writings sent shockwaves through Europe. People were both fascinated and frightened by the idea of a hidden group, working in the shadows, possessing ancient wisdom that could challenge the power of both church and state. Some saw them as visionaries, others feared they were heretics. For centuries, rumors and legends grew around the Rosicrucians. Some said they could heal the sick and extend life itself, while others claimed they could communicate with unseen forces. Their symbols, roses, crosses, and alchemical signs, only deepened the mystery, as they hinted at layers of hidden meaning known only to initiates. The Rosicrucians themselves rarely revealed their beliefs. In fact, some historians argue that the Rosicrucians may not have existed as an organized group at all, but were instead an idea, a symbol of spiritual enlightenment in a dark world. Others believe the Rosicrucians are very real, and that their influence continues to this day. In the 19th century, Rosicrucian orders began to emerge publicly in Europe and America, claiming descent from the original order. Some of these groups merged elements of Freemasonry, mysticism, and ancient Egyptian beliefs into their practices. They continued to teach that humanity could achieve a higher state of being through the study of hidden truths and spiritual transformation. But what do the Rosicrucians really believe? Are they the guardians of ancient knowledge as they claim, or are they merely seekers in the dark, searching for enlightenment like the rest of us? Today, the legacy of the Rosicrucians remains a tantalizing mystery. Some modern groups claim to follow the same teachings and philosophies as the original Brotherhood. They speak of reaching spiritual enlightenment, of seeing beyond the material world. But without clear records, it's nearly impossible to know which groups are truly connected to the ancient Rosicrucians and which are merely inspired by the legend. So do the Rosicrucians hold the key to spiritual secrets hidden for centuries? Or are they just another group searching for meaning in a complex world? Perhaps only those who have taken the journey to enlightenment can truly understand the truth behind the Rosicrucians. The Assassins. Their name alone has become legendary, whispered in tales of secret missions, deadly precision, and unwavering loyalty. But who were the Assassins really, and how did a small group from the mountains of Persia become one of the most feared secret societies in history? The story of the Assassins begins in the late 11th century, in the rugged mountains of Persia. A man named Hassan-i-Sabah founded a sect known as the Nizari Ismailis, a branch of Shia Islam with beliefs that set them apart from the mainstream. Hassan was a master strategist and a charismatic leader. Under his guidance, the Nizari Ismailis would soon become known as the Hashashin, a name that would later evolve into assassins. The assassins were unique in their methods. Instead of waging large-scale battles, they used targeted assassinations to strike down key enemies, political and religious leaders who posed a threat to their people. These missions required intense training, discipline, and a deep commitment. The assassins were so devoted that they were willing to sacrifice their lives to complete their missions. In fact, their reputation for fearlessness and absolute loyalty spread far and wide. Legend has it that the assassins used a combination of drugs, rituals, and mind-altering experiences to initiate new recruits, creating a fierce loyalty. It was said that Hassan-i-Sabah would show his followers visions of paradise, convincing them that if they sacrificed themselves, they would achieve eternal reward. But how much of this is true, and how much is myth? The assassins were based in a series of mountain fortresses, the most famous of which was Alamut, known as the Eagle's Nest. From these fortified strongholds they launched carefully planned missions, striking fear into the hearts of kings, sultans, and even crusaders. Alamut itself became legendary, a symbol of secrecy, power, and mystery. Their methods were so effective that the very word assassin became synonymous with stealth and lethal precision. In the courts of Europe, stories about the assassins were whispered, painting them as an unstoppable force. Crusaders returning from the Middle East told tales of men who could infiltrate the most secure palaces, striking without warning. But as their influence grew, so did the enemies they attracted. In the 13th century, the Mongols, led by the powerful conqueror Hulagu Khan, set their sights on Alamut. The fortress was eventually overrun, and the assassin order was nearly wiped out. By the time the Mongols finished, it seemed that the assassins had been erased from history. Or had they? Even today, the legend of the assassins persists. Some believe their teachings and techniques have survived, passed down through hidden networks. Popular culture has only fueled the myth, with video games, movies, and novels reviving the idea of an ancient order of assassins, still active in the shadows, still carrying out secret missions. So who were the assassins? A secretive sect with a mission, or the world's first covert operatives? Did they disappear with Alamut, or does their legacy continue in ways we may never understand? Perhaps only those willing to look into the shadows can find the answer. Secret societies have always captured our imagination. The idea that there are powerful groups, hidden in the shadows, quietly shaping our world, it's both thrilling and unsettling. From the Freemasons and the Illuminati, to the Assassins and Skull and Bones, these groups seem to leave behind more questions than answers. Are they simply the product of myth and legend, or do they still hold influence today, hidden just out of sight? Maybe that's the true power of these societies, their ability to make us wonder, to make us question what's real and what's merely a story. But what do you think? Do these secret societies still exist, shaping our world in ways we may never fully understand? Or are they just fascinating tales passed down through history? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the mysterious and the unknown, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got more stories of hidden truths, forgotten events, and untold histories that you won't want to miss. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.